are quite good. Attack warning. Is it for real? Attack warning. It's for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, quick, get down. 1, 2, 3.
I'm therapizing.
That's all good, though.
All right.
Welcome, everybody, to the Drop Culture Podcast. This is that podcast where we pick up that piece of pop culture you forgot about or missed, shine it up real nice, and cram it in your ear holes. I'm here this week, like every week.
As always,
With
him is Garth.
is Brock Smith. Say hi, Brock.
Hey, what up, everybody? Hi. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
This is almost our 5th year.
Yeah.
Is it right?
Yeah, that sounds right. 4th year, 5th year, something like that. Yeah.
We've been on the air a long time, guys.
We have.
Thanks for your support. We are
You
still
can
here.
tell by how professional we are.
We're just as professional as every other one.
That's true.
But yes, where are we at, Dan?
Well, this week, we are going to visit a tale of
As old as time.
a dystopian world from a 1976 film, Logan's Run.
Logan's Run. What a fucking movie, dude. I mean, it came out at a great time. Oh, you gotta squeeze on the side.
Oh.
Yeah. It just came out at a weird time too, and I mean, most of the people that like Jenny Agar, right? You've seen her in so much shit, and then of course, what's his nuts, Michael York, right? You've seen seen him in a lot of stuff. That's what that processed shit does to you, man. It's fucked up.
Yeah, vaping's not for me.
No. But it's a memorable movie because of everything that they did in this shit, man.
Yeah.
Which is so fucking cool.
And if you didn't know, then like halfway through the movie, then they're like, Farrah Fawcett. Okay.
There's a lot of different weird chapters to this, as in, kind of where it came from was a book written by 2 dudes, right?
Yep.
Big science fiction guys, which was really cool. But this, the proper use of their sets, the proper use of what they had to work with, made it seem like it was a very, very huge movie.
Yes.
Especially like the models, right? Where it was
sure.
like ding, 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 ding. Really cool synth music and shit, it's just a badass movie. It really is. Great concept. I'm glad that they developed it.
For sure.
Yeah, and then they did a TV show that I never watched.
Yeah, same here.
It's like
Was it successful?
I don't know. It was like the Planet of the Apes. I think there was some.
So no, it wasn't
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah, there's some good ones, but not a lot.
I'm not saying that it wasn't good. I'm just saying successful. Or we would have got more of it.
Yeah, right. Man, imagine if Planet of the Apes, the TV show, was still on today.
Imagine if this movie ended and when it was Planet of the Apes. Now, I thought that in my head watching this, like with the overgrown stuff. I was like, oh my God, let's die it all together. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves, though.
It's Logan running into fucking Charlton Heston outside. That's what he saw around the bend.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, shit. Planet of the Apes, yeah, that's a saga.
So, yeah, before we get into all that, we should probably tell these guys a little bit about Logan's Run.
Logan's Run.
Where do we want to start, my friend? Do we want to do a little synopsis? We want to...
Well, I got something here. Okay. Logan's Run is a futuristic... What would you say? It's not dystopian.
It kind of is. You're controlled, and
yeah.
there's, like...
But it's willfully.
Well,
yeah.
If you're tricked long enough, of course it's willfully.
Right. So, yeah. And it's like, well, because they live a life of leisure, they basically get everything that they would want, but the only thing is they can only live to a certain age.
Right.
In the book, it was 21. In the movie, it's 30. Makes it more feasible.
Well, 30 sounds a lot more fun than 21. It's like you're just barely a human being at 21.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I made it to my 21st. Oh, damn, that would suck. But, okay, I'm going to just read what was at the very beginning of the movie. Yeah. Sometime in the 23rd century, the survivors of war, overpopulation, and pollution are living in a great domed city, sealed away from the forgotten world outside. Here, in an ecologically balanced world, mankind lives only for pleasure. Freed by the servo mechanisms which provide everything, there's just one catch. Life must end at 30 unless reborn in a fiery ritual of carousel.
Yep.
That's what you get at the very beginning. So you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, you're like, okay.
Okay, I never read the book. So it's like a sealed community.
Yeah.
They don't really... They say it's overpopulation and pollution, but at the same time, like, where's everything else? I mean, how big is this city?
Right.
I mean, it's huge.
It's huge, obviously.
But not, because I think...
He says how many people?
It was like 400,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember when he's talking to the old man, I think, at the end.
Yeah, something. Yeah, well, I know that the computer mentions
or maybe it's the computer when he's there, yeah.
He mentions the amount of runners that have made it.
Right.
Yeah, and he was like, what? And it was like the way that the computer comes out. And of course, we'll talk about that.
But I think later on he mentions how many are actually in the city.
Yeah.
Something about how many would be free.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to die.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy because the way that they started out, you go into this shit right here.
Right.
You're like, well, how the hell is this supposed to work? And so you're in the city. You get to see them fucking like be really cool. And now I don't know. It's such a far-fetched idea. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the way that they use the sets, the way that they use what they had, they made it seem like it was futuristic, kind of like Conquest of the Apes.
Yeah.
The way that they shot that plaza, the way that they made the camera work for the environment. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, and like this was in Dallas. They made some shit in Dallas at like some mall. And this is weird too. And I don't know why. And I never knew that fact before, but one of the first times I was watching it in the last couple of weeks, I was like, man, I don't know why that seems like Dallas to me. It's just the way the brick is and shit.
Yeah, sure.
It reminded me of the malls around there.
Sure.
So I was like, huh, that's just weird. And then I read about it and I was like, oh, no wonder.
Right. This movie was very successful, though. Budget was $7 to $8 million, somewhere in there. It made $25 million.
It's pretty
that's
good.
pretty good, especially in '76.
Yeah, shit. 1976 for a sci-fi movie like this before Star Wars.
Right.
So this was like, I don't know.
I think this movie worked better probably just in money-wise, making money,
right?
Profit, because it came out before Star Wars. I think that there were probably a lot of science fiction films that were impacted that were made before Star Wars that probably couldn't have been made after Star Wars.
Yeah, BSWASW before Star Wars and after Star Wars science fiction. This was, I mean, it was a grand scale, and
100%.
The sets that they had, because this was all practical too.
Yeah,
like the carousel, trying to choreograph that, and you can tell they took a lot of fucking work for that shit.
Yeah.
And they had the right amount of extras too. So it wasn't like
that was the thing too.
Yeah.
It made it feel like a lived-in world.
Right.
Where sometimes in those movies you're like, there's 5 people in this fucking whole town. What the hell's going on?
Like Arena?
Yeah.
When they're fighting it, all it is the cardboard cutouts of the dudes with like scarves on them and shit. It's like, dang, we made it look like there was like 1,000 people there, man. It's like, no, you didn't.
Well, they did what they could with what they had, right?
Yeah.
We have $5 left. All right, what are we gonna do?
Yes, grab some fake blood pellets. No, but yeah, I mean, again, it was like
It's very fantastical looking. I like that. Like, the whole interior of the city. I mean, I know we get to see the one courtyard where the carousel entrance is.
Yeah.
Quite often, that's like an area we're in quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's like a big open area. But like, and not that I was looking for it, but at no point was I like, that extra looks like that person that was in, you know what I mean?
No,
like
it was all different.
just all different,
Yeah.
which was cool. Again, I think that creates
They had a lot of people there.
a good, sets the tone for
Right.
what they're trying to convey.
And they're not trying to close everything out. They're trying to show how big it is.
Right.
I think that's with a movie like this, with the score, with the breadth of it, the entireness of what it is, and whenever you get locked into it, it's really cool to know that world is there and to think, holy shit, they got all, and you're only seeing like a piece of it,
right?
Just like barely a little piece, especially when they have the cleanup crew come through,
right?
And then, of course, carousel, of course, the body docks, like the judges walking up to fucking, it's almost like a Judge Dredd. It's like you got peach trees, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of, they're judges, right? So, but they stop runners.
Right.
So it's almost kind of like.
And they're called Sandmen.
Yeah, and when did Judge Dredd come out?
After this.
Yeah.
Well, this book was written in 1967.
Yeah. So a fucking great idea, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that. Ooh, I never thought about that, but just talking it out made sense.
Like I love the Sandman ideas that they chase the people who don't want to die at 30.
Right.
So they're like, I'm out of here. And rather than just letting them go and go their way, they're just like, we hunt you down and kill you if you do that.
Yeah.
So
but
that's weird.
But you have a choice: kill yourself, or we'll send somebody to kill you.
Yeah. And those people are called Sandmen, right?
Yeah.
Each one. And I think if I ever redid this movie, this is a movie that I feel like they could redo and do it very well.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it make more sense in that society if your Sandman wore like some sort of a mask? And then like I don't know, it just makes more sense to me.
So you wouldn't see who they were. Yeah.
Right.
I could see that better.
Right.
Yeah, and then plus, or they have a digital mask on, so they look like somebody else.
Right.
Like 2 weeks.
And not all wearing the same color outfit, just so
Right.
that like when you're out, hey, that's a Sandman. He wears black and gray.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
We wear red.
We wear reds and blues.
Hey guys.
Black and gray, they're Sandman.
Yeah, but then the cleanup crew was like opposite.
Yeah.
So they do have but if you only have a limited amount of people, I could see keeping it simple like that.
Oh, sure.
So you know who's who, but they have the 1-to-1 rule. So if one is born, one's got to die.
Right.
So it doesn't move that population up or down.
Right.
So that's the control is the Sandman.
Is it not that it dies, right? Like not right away. Like there's a lapse of time while they're growing the child. Right? Because doesn't he see like his own Logan 7 or
Yeah. The day that it was born.
Yeah.
So I guess they're
So
test tube babies.
Well,
no, they're aren't they surrogates?
Yeah, but I mean, they probably have to give it time to get to a certain age where it makes it'd be a good cycle, right?
Right.
So, because he was only in his when they count his time at one, because they move him eventually.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll not get too far into that, but I think he said something about being in his 20s.
Mm-hmm. He still
You know
got
what
4.
I mean?
He still had like 4 years or some shit like that, and
early 20s or something. I don't remember what it was.
So he was like, "Am I going to get the shit back?"
Yeah.
Well, and they have the way that they keep time is they have the jewel in their hand.
Yeah.
And that starts from whenever they're born. I guess whenever that gets activated is whenever it starts.
Right.
I could see it's the 1-to-1, and if they had a surrogate mom. And the computer was in control of the breeding, the insemination and all that shit like that. I could see it being like, okay, well, this will be a new Logan,
right?
But why is he Logan 5? But if he was Logan 5, he was born then. He had 4 years, so he had 5 years before he took over.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
I don't remember if
work.
that was the math, but
No,
yeah,
but that would be cool.
Yeah, it would make sense that they would make a logical cycle out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
So they were existing at the same time.
Right.
There's always that overlap.
Right.
Yeah, I see that. But it's like nobody ever strays from anything.
Right.
Not there. Nobody goes to the back room. Everybody's like, oh, I'm in the sex club.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a place built for pleasure, and like that's all you have to do. Yeah.
You didn't ever see them eat. Just
No.
drinking.
Yeah.
Drinking and partying. I mean, I didn't expect to see that many titties in this movie.
Fact.
There was frozen ones. There was like upside down ones.
I think also in like any kind of wacky future or space or anything, it's much easier to convey drinks than it is food.
Yes.
So like
Yeah.
if I was on a budget, I'd be like, yeah, everybody's having a fucking drink.
Yeah.
You
Have a
know?
Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Blue drink gets you drunk.
This isn't a survival game. You don't have to eat every 30 minutes. You
Right,
know?
right. You took your pills, your nutrient pills this morning. And their technology looked very simple.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the guns, you know.
Well, of course, they were of the time for sure.
Yeah, they were just
You
like
know.
pistols. And
Sort of.
totally inaccurate.
Yeah,
You would
yeah.
think after all that amount of time, they would have one that could just shoot straight.
Well, what I don't understand is these Sandmen, that's all they do.
Yes. Do they practice?
They are terrible shots. All of them.
Michael York is the worst.
Yeah,
He
for
like-
sure.
he-
Our main character, Michael York, yes.
Yeah, he did a
Logan, if you will.
He did a RoboCop on that dude. You know, thank you for not smoking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He did a RoboCop on the first runner that we see.
Yeah.
And he just goes around his whole body. And the dude's like, ow, 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 ow. And there's so many stuntmen on this movie. The stuntmen from this movie did so many other ones that I was
Sure.
reading. It was so crazy. Because this movie was so big, but not really. Because I mean, come on,
Well, I think
$8 million budget.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I think for you and I, right, like, this was well before the time of us ever watching movies or, you know, whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, like, we go back to sci-fi movies, and there's iconic ones, don't get me wrong. There's, 2001.
Right.
There's Star Wars, of course.
This one.
probably- but I mean, as a youth, like,
Yeah.
unless you were exposed to this
You
was
never would've
not
seen it.
something you would have been...
Just like 2001.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
was, yeah. 2001 it was a special spot just like this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Kroll or anything like that. It was such a cool movie,
Yeah, yeah.
that it lasted, out of the
Like
cinemas.
Beastmaster.
Yeah. Out of the fucking cinemas into like some fucking home video shit.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Which Logan's Run fucking just, it looks cool.
Yeah.
Every aspect of it just looks like it. But it's the whole world. If I knew a little bit more about it, it's like they have fitness clubs and shit.
Yeah.
And like Turkish baths. I don't know. It's just a weird.
It's just a place to
Yeah.
go. Unless you're a Sandman, then you're like monitoring things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're kind of a shitty job because everybody else just gets to hang out and have fun.
Yeah. You got a job to do.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Which they can they can ask
Which
you to
not
do
that
at
they
any
care
time,
because they're like, yeah, let's go to the sex club and pick up these girls.
or go to the sex replicator.
Yeah. What?
Vroom, vroom. No, vroom, vroom. All right, vroom, vroom. It's like how? What? I was on the circuit. It's fucked up.
Yeah, for sure.
But of course, there's no husband and wife. There's no
Right.
institution of marriage because there's nothing.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to breed other than the controlled way they're
So they
being
just
bred.
eat, poop, and have sex.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all they do.
Yep.
And never procreate.
Yeah.
That's all taken care of.
So I wonder if like that's the battery for the like when the carousel goes around, it takes all that energy that it takes from those people, and that's the battery for the computer.
Maybe it is.
It's fucking Skynet
Yeah.
gone too far.
It's like it's harnessing that energy to make fucking bug stew or some shit, that they all eat. It's all pieces of them because they explode.
Yeah,
But-
made of people.
But okay,
Bug stew is made of people.
it's a bug. It's gross. Good protein though.
Back
But-
to this story.
Yeah, we should get into who's in it.
Yeah.
And who it was done by. Like, it was based on the novel, right? From '67 by William F. Nolan. and George Clayton Johnson, of course.
Of course.
They did a lot of shit. They really did. They wrote and they had a lot of hundreds and hundreds of science fiction stories. And then when it got to like Star Trek and shit, I think one dude has a Star Trek, Kung Fu, Twilight Zone and shit.
Nice.
I mean, so they were all over everything. Or they were in that world.
Right.
That sci-fi book world, like a Dune type shit. But it was really cool because most of those guys, they had, I don't know if they had input in the making of it, but the way that somebody interpreted their vision, because I think it was in development hell for a little while, of course. But
makes sense.
If the book came out in 1967, something else came out in 1967, Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
So, I mean, and they waited until...
Which goes back to my theory.
Yeah, and they waited till 76. To come out with fucking Logan's Run, right?
Yeah.
After the book had come out, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, the director, I didn't see a lot from him, and Doc Savage comes up a lot now. And a lot of the shit that I've been researching, Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze, comes up quite a bit. And which is I don't get it. Like I never heard of that movie ever, and then all of a sudden it's like everywhere. Which it must have been one of those Mandela effects.
Yeah, probably.
Didn't even know it existed. But he, I don't.
Debunked by the fruit of the loom, people. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Liars.
Well, the director's also related to Laurie Holden. She was in Walking Dead and The Mist.
Yes.
So that was about the only fun fact.
Fun fact.
Yeah. Truth nugget or something. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And then the screenplay was
Just another truth nugget.
Yeah. The David Zalog Goodman didn't really put anything down for him. The director of photography, Ernest Laszlo, he was nominated for 8 Academy Awards.
Wow.
Not necessarily for this movie. They got a special achievement one.
Right.
He got like 4. He got a lot of shit. I mean, it was like the Jackie Robinson story.
Okay.
It's a mad, mad, mad world.
Oh, wow.
It was like his last 7 movies were all nominated.
All bangers.
Yeah, fuck it. It was. If you look at his IMDb, you're like, holy shit, there was a lot right there at the end.
Nice.
It's like he learned everything. And it's like it's perfect now.
I got this now. I'm on
Yeah,
this.
everything's good. Like Inherit the Wind, Judgment at Nuremberg. These fucking Academy Award nominated films and shit.
Right.
And I think he only won 1. It was for something completely weird. Then, of course, the music, Jerry Goldsmith. The score in this is not overdone.
No.
It is very, very productive to the movie. It really adds so much to it. It has the right dramatic rises and startups.
Yes, I agree.
It definitely fits. And the synth type shit, just the whole overdone score, it just works.
I think it does as well.
Yeah. And Jerry Goldsmith, of course, had 18 fucking Academy Award nominations.
Right. He's pretty good at it.
But he's only won 1.
Well, if you get nominated that many times, like I would play the laws of average, is if, let's say you and I are both music composers, and, you get over 18 years, you get 5 Academy Awards, but you're only nominated for 7. And I'm nominated 18 times, and I only win 1. Say the laws of average say that I'm still probably better than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you were nominated
I'm like
18
number
times.
2 every time. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I just like to be on the podium.
Yeah. Thanks for the nice meal.
But you know what? What he won the Oscar for? It was The Omen.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Yeah. So that I
Bringing
thought,
it back around.
Yeah. That was pretty fucking cool. He did LA Confidential, a lot of shit. Planet of the
That's
Apes,
a great.
Yeah. Then the effects, like I searched these dudes out because they did get like a honorary award for the effects that they did.
Okay.
They didn't actually get a special effects award, but these 2 people that were L.B. Abbott and Glenn Robinson, they had both been on so many different fucking movies and been nominated so many fucking times. But they also got these 4 shared awards for the innovations and shit.
Nice.
You know, so like The Day the Earth Stood Still, The Poseidon Adventure,
Okay.
Planet of the Apes, fucking Wizard of Oz, Forbidden Planet, Flash Gordon from the 70s, and a personal favorite, Amityville 2.
There you go. The Possession.
You just look at the technical aspect of this movie has
Yeah.
some fucking great peepers.
Peepers.
Yeah, the DOP himself. I mean, the shit that he was doing, pretty fucking cool. Like, I don't think it's anything that's like too masterful or crazy. You know, it's not a Kubrick thing, but
Well, of course not, but no, it's definitely
it's fucking badass,
yeah,
right?
it's good.
To have
For
a
sure.
career that you're successful like that, fucking any day.
Exactly.
Right? Now, and then it was produced by Saul David, which I don't know if you've ever seen the Sinatra vehicle, Von Ryan Express.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Psst, he dies at the end.
What? Spoiler alert.
And he produced another little movie called In Like Flint. So then we get to our cast, of course, Michael York. Everybody knows Logan. What do you know him from?
Well, I would say I'm going to say where I think everybody else is going to know him from.
The Three Musketeers?
Oh no, though he was D'Artagnan.
Yep.
But I think most people would know him as Basil Expletive.
Basil Exposition.
Exposition, that's it. From the Austin Power movies.
100%.
Whoop-de-doo, Basil.
It was like totally fucking perfect for that part.
It was,
I mean, it was like,
yeah.
holy shit, he's fucking wonderful in it.
And he's done a lot more than that, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's like in the zeitgeist enough of doesn't matter really what age you are.
Everybody will know that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was Three Musketeers, and I remember watching those two that came out about that time. They were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And it's been such a long time since I've seen them. I think it was around the time that USA was real popular.
Makes sense. Absolutely.
But of course, he was on the island of Dr. Moreau, like the second one that they made. Because they made the first one, black and white. Then they had the 70s one, and
Right.
then they had the fucking Val Kilmer.
The 90s one. Yeah.
Yes.
Faruka Bulk.
Yeah, Feruza Bulk.
Faruza. Faruza, come on. Come on, Faruza. No bulk in it. Come on.
He was in Romeo and Juliet in '67. That was a
Okay.
big production. I didn't really realize, but there was a lot of people involved in this movie that were up for parts in that movie too.
Really?
Like Ginny A. Gutter, I think, or Auditory, however you say her name. I'm very sorry if I'm butchering it.
No, nobody cares.
Auditory.
I mean, maybe they do. But.
Which she is Jessica. Yes. I'm laying down the law. Like, no more taxes. No,
Yeah, she is Jessica.
She's Jessica. I don't.
She's the
remember her
closest thing that you get to a hippy dippy in this.
name. Kind of. She's very skeptical. She has a really cool part because she knows. But it's just weird how she just kind of pops up at the movie. So I bet you the book explains a little bit more.
I'm sure.
But where she comes from is just kind of like she knows a lot. She knows a lot of people. Just like I guess there's an underground around there or some shit.
Yeah.
And then you'll remember her from, and if you like the movies that we like, American Werewolf in London. Come on, she was fucking badass. she was, God, what was the song that they played? Whenever they were all in her apartment, it was like a Summer Breeze song or something.
Yeah.
No, God damn it, I'm gonna sound like an asshole because I don't know it, but
What?
yeah. Moonlight something. What was that song?
Oh, dude, I don't remember.
Anyway.
My brain capacity is not there.
Mine was gone. But yeah, she was on Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
She was on Avengers. She was on Call of the Midwife. That's where she's been really spending more of her time, which is a PBS show. If you've ever seen it. Mm-mm. It's a very, very dry real life show. My wife loves it. So I've seen my fair share of episodes. A lot to where I know a lot of the characters. It's crazy. But then your next actor, Richard Jordan, he was Francis. So he's like fucking Logan's high five buddy, right?
Was it Bad Moon Rising?
No, well, Bad Moon Rises did through the change, but whenever they were like they were doing it,
Oh,
Yeah, it was something.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's really a digression that I fell down the hole on. Sorry, brother.
well, of course, always think about Bad Moon Rising and shit like that, just because, or whatever it was. Yeah. Anyway, Richard Jordan, right? Mm-hmm. So Richard Jordan, he played Francis. Now he's been in a lot of shit, and you know him, but there's certain roles I think that really stick with him, and for me, it was in Posse, where he was the sheriff. He's an asshole sheriff, and for some reason, that's the only movie that's ever really stuck with me.
Well, that is your movie.
Yeah, with him in it. It's so weird. But he was Duncan Idaho in Dune, right? He was on Solar Babies.
Oh, well, now you've got my attention, because I've seen Solar Babies more than I can count on one hand.
Right. Who was he? Rooster Cogburn. He was on Gettysburg, the big 4-hour masterpiece.
Yeah.
I actually went and saw that in the theater.
Did you really? But that was cool.
It was the second movie I think I went to that had an intermission.
Okay.
But it was like fucking major.
Yeah.
In the old seats, too. Yeah, so
you put in the time is what you're saying.
Fucking A. Great seats, too. Had good seats. It was me and my dad's. We were just like, holy shit. Oh, all right, Kevin. Way to go, guys. But it was pretty cool. But he was in that. I don't really remember him too much. But Dune, now that it's, yes. Yeah. But Posse is the one I was like, motherfucker. That's so weird, though. To really know him from that, right? So then one of the other bigger characters was Box, right? He's Roscoe Lee Brown. We'll talk about Box when we get there too. Mm-hmm. He started off getting really popular on the Cowboys. So he was like intimidated at John Wayne, right? Back in the day, and he thought John Wayne was going to be like a fucking hard ass, blah blah blah. But of course, John Wayne was an asshole. He's one of the bastards of fucking Hollywood.
Sure.
But when they met on set, they hit it off. So they were friends all the way up until whenever, right? Which is so fucking weird, right? And it was like, holy shit. But he was on Superfly TNT. He was on the Planet of the Apes TV show. He's my Falcon Crest alum.
Okay.
Just because
we found one.
Yeah, just because. Well, there's two.
Okay.
Probably more. And then you got Swamp. He was on the Swamp Thing TV show.
Okay.
And he was a narrator on Babe Pig in the City.
Okay.
Yeah. So he did a lot of voices, but you can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, his voice is very distinctive.
Yes.
Plankton. And then, of course, Farrah Fawcett Majors of the time.
Yeah.
Or Farrah Fawcett, as you might say. She never became O'Neill. Even after cancer. She was Holly, which at that time, it's so funny because whenever you look at her fun facts, it was like she had such big nipples. I was like, so that was my note. Big nipples.
Nice.
They had to like cut her wardrobe down because her nipples were like
coming out.
Yeah, it was cold all the time.
Popping.
Right. But I don't know if this is true. She went to University of Texas for a degree in microbiology, but I think she changed her major to art. So some places say that she has a degree in microbiology, and some say that, it's like, okay, so what is it? It's weird too because I bought a VHS from the store and it had the Farrah Fawcett's fucking Playboy direct to video. Like if you're a Playboy member, I was like, what the fuck? And it's just her like rolling around naked on fucking canvas, right? You remember that shit?
I remember that was a thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, where did this come from? But of course, we all know her from $6 Million Man,
absolutely,
The Fall Guy,
yeah,
Charlie's
the
Angels,
woman,
and Big Nipples.
Yeah.
It's weird. Another possibly recognizable, was the Doc, right? The guy that did the facial reconstruction or body mods. He was on the Highlander TV series, I think one episode, and then he did a shitload of TV movies.
Okay.
Just most of these people at that time ended up doing a shitload of TV movies, like Ricky Schroeder.
Yeah.
Return to Lonesome Dove.
Hey, you get the money where you can get the money, man.
Right. And then you got Peter Ustinov.
Sweet network money. Come on, let's go.
God, you got to get it in syndication. Dr. Quinn.
That's where the money's at.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman. You think Jane Seymour fucking doesn't have like billions now because of that shit? Fuck you. She's still rolling in the residuals more than the Night Court people,
Oh, well, for sure.
which is a travesty. John Larroquette for president.
There you go.
But then you got Peter Ustinov.
Bring back Harry Anderson.
Please.
Yeah.
I would pay for a Frankenstein Harry Anderson.
Yeah. Take him and a George Carlin. Let's go.
Holy shit. Put them together? Mm-hmm. Damn. Put the brain with the body. It'd be like a weird Frankenhooker. But Peter Ustinov, right?
Yes.
He's the old man. He won 2 Oscars. And one was from Spartacus. He was the only actor that won an Oscar that appeared or that was a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Okay.
He was the only one that has ever won an Oscar or that ever won an Oscar from one of his films.
Gotcha.
Which is fucking
That's
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah, to think that.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. But that's it. Those are your principles. There's a lot of other people.
But
you
yeah,
know.
they're not that important.
Like, who else was in it? Dwayne Wilder?
Yeah.
Something weird like that. Like, huh. But there's a lot of stuntmen. Yeah.
battling Dwayne Wilder.
But there's a lot of really big Academy-nominated movies that were associated with this.
For sure.
It was just such a big one because it was an MGM movie.
Yep.
Distributed by United Artists, so I don't know how all of that stuff worked back in the day because now it's all the same. Isn't it? Everything's all like put together.
There's a lot of conglomerates, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's why the first 5 minutes of every movie is just like fucking logos.
Yeah.
It's all tweet, tweet. Oh, it's a bird. Oh, look, it's a butterfly. What, is this part of the...
Is this the animation of this movie? What?
No. Oh, produced by.
Yeah, that's
okay,
a logo.
okay.
Okay,
In association. Yeah. Yeah. Finance.
In partnership with?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And directed in part by. Goddamn. It's just another production logo.
Right.
It's like a tiger laying down.
Mandalay.
But.
Isn't that theirs, I think?
What?
Mandalays?
I don't know.
Isn't it a tiger laying down?
Oh, Mandalay Bay? With the,
No, there's a film company, I thought.
Oh, yes.
Anyways, we're digressing a lot from
Anyway,
Logan's Run.
Yeah. Because it's Logan's Run, right?
Yeah.
Because you can enjoy this movie and, like, fucking be everywhere. Now, your opening thoughts of the movie, whenever you step into this movie, how does it make you feel?
When I step into this movie, how does it make me feel?
When you're locked in.
When you're locked in? So I think really right at first it brings you in a weird place. Because don't we start out with the visiting of the baby thing? Is that where we start?
Yep.
Yeah.
In the nursery.
Yeah. So he's meeting like what will be his predecessor,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
In some amount of years, which I'm not looking at.
We established
That there are some years. Yeah. So yeah, like I'm like, okay. And then you kind of like, as you're uncovering like how that works, like that basically all the babies are engineered or whatever, you know.
Right. Because they do talk about it.
Right.
He's like, it's 1-to-1.
Because he like his buddy comes there.
Yeah, fucks with him.
Yeah, fucks with him a little bit about
I've
seeing
never
babies.
seen you over here.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, of course. Not every day you see another Logan born.
Right.
You know, it's like your predecessor's here. He's going to replace me.
Right.
So it's kind of crazy because you get to see the jewel in their hand, too.
Yeah.
Just like the jewel
I don't
in
think
his.
they talk about it yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Because there's different levels and different
Right.
colors. So you got red and green and
Like
yellow.
it's like the Green Lantern, like the Lantern Corps.
Right. Depends on how old you are. Like lady's like, oh, I'm 22. I'm like, no, I don't think so, lady. You ain't passing for 22 anymore.
Right.
More like 42.
Yeah. You're overdue, bitch.
You're looking like a golden girl.
So yeah, I think that it just takes a minute for it to like it brings you into it nicely. I think, but it's like you uncover. There's no exposition necessarily other than that original crawl.
Right.
You know,
That's all you needed because
just like a Star Wars, just like any of those,
Right.
like any of the sci-fi movies we've talked about on here.
it catches you up really quick.
Right. It's like at least gives you a little background, so like this movie doesn't have to be 4 hours long.
Right. Yeah, because it doesn't start off and you're like, what the fuck's going on?
Right.
Who are these people? Like THX 1138, something like that. You're like, you need a little bit of explanation. But yeah, no. When it comes in on that fucking awesome, I don't know, because it looks like something you would see in an arcade. You know what I mean? Yeah. It really does. But at that point, it was fucking magical.
Yeah, for sure.
It was really cool to see like those little bitty, cars, floating by, going through all the different, levels. I thought
it all looked good too.
It was fucking cool as shit, man.
Absolutely.
You had the tubes and shit, and whenever they were sitting in their car, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sitting in their roller coaster.
Whatever it
was.
It was like it's going into fucking Fantasy Island or some shit. But you get to know the characters really fast. So Logan, he's Logan 5, right? And it's Francis 3 or something like that.
Yeah, whatever. Francis, Logan.
Yeah. It was like he was younger. I don't know how the numbers work or how many different generations. But so you get to notice that the computer's in charge of everything because he wakes up the baby. He's trying to, but Logan's like, I'm going to do it really slow. Right. So you get to see that. They're all like, ha, ha, ha. They bump into some dudes in red. Yeah. And they like punk them. Yeah. Like, what, bitch? Even Michael York is looking at him like smiling, like, do something. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like they have attitudes, which is fucking weird. And then, of course, they're going to Carousel. Because Carousel that's what they have to do when their gym glows red. They either have to do that or they become a runner. Right. So they're in the stands and they get to see the fucking hockey, whatever the air ballet team. They look like they were on a fucking United States Olympic team or some shit, Seoul, Korea dance squad. Because they took them off and everybody's like, oh! And they got hockey masks on. Yeah. So I guess it's like a soul blender. Yeah, it's a centrifuge that sucks them up. It's the vacuum of life to destroy you at the top, right? So it's
the Hoover of life.
It's a reverse blender. It just sucks you up. So yeah, it starts pulling them up, and they're like cheering it on, man. Yeah, they love that shit.
Like even the ones that are going up are
loving
excited to go.
They're yelling like, "Yeah, Carousel, yeah!" Like fucking loving it.
They're having a great time.
Well, it's just like, do they have those every day? Every week?
Yeah, I don't know.
Every month? Because if it was every day, that would kind of get old.
Get old, yeah. You'd have to at most do one a month, I would think.
Right, right. Because they say what the year is.
Plan them, you know what I mean?
Right. But that's how you would overlap, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Well, then of course,
controlled generations.
Yeah. So
you must no fuss.
Yeah, you don't even have to think about it. It's already built. Here on Camino, we make everything. No, it's like totally set up perfectly for them to get their first runner. Yeah. Because it's carousel time. Yeah. Some dude's blinking. He gets a call on his fucking Sony Walkman. And he's like, over and out, I'm coming. And the other dude's like, he's jizzing all over the fucking, he's like, yeah, carousel. Yeah. And then he notices he's gone, right? Yeah. But then he like jumps behind him. He's like, ha, it's like he's pinching his ass or some shit. And he's like, watch it, motherfucker. Because there's a runner, right? Right. So we get to see what their job actually is. Yeah. They get to throw firecrackers at dudes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Until they fall off of something. Because that's pretty much how it goes. I mean, it wasn't
great.
They didn't run too far.
No.
Were they fucking with you?
Or very fast, or it was like they were baiting the trap.
Well, what was the trap?
What was the trap? Yeah, nobody knows.
Let's get him to the highest part.
So and then we shoot him.
Yeah, and I'll go over here for no fucking reason. Yeah, his buddy's like way across the courtyard. He's up like 3 flights up. Right. Michael York's 2 feet away and can't hit him.
Michael York, worst shot ever.
And
he is like a stormtrooper.
Right. But the way he holds his gun too, it's like, come on, man. I mean, at least have a little bit of pride. Little fucking trigger control there, man. Just fucking, no, don't aim it around. Don't like fucking wave it around like you're gonna, like Annie Oakley and shit. Because that's what it was, right?
For sure.
But then I read that fact that it was saying that they had a hard time for those things to work. I could see. Like, how are they going to do it to where it'd be perfect every time?
Right.
You have a fuse, it's like, but what does it shoot?
Yeah.
That also reminds me of the judge's guns.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
In a weird way, it just kind of puts that. I'm like, oh, shit, I get it. Because everybody that sees them was like, oh, they're the only ones that can have them.
Yeah. You've got firecrackers.
Yeah.
Get back.
So they get him finally, right? They
Yeah,
get the dude. And they call in the cleanup squad after he fucking steals all of his pocket change and shit. Gets the onk and stuff like that, right? Or the cross. And he's just like, whatever. They have these weird bags that he puts inside of his stomach or some shit.
Yeah. What was that all about?
It was like a belt.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a kung fu thing. I don't know. But then he's like, all right, let's go party, bro. So he goes back to his place.
Had a hard day of chasing down that one guy. All right.
What time is it? Oh, yeah. It's time to get down, baby. So
Downtown Julie Brown. Let's go.
So basically, he calls up the what was it? The replicator.
Yeah.
The whole replicator. And it just brings
girls.
Well, at first it brings a guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he's like, nah. It's like it's to them, I bet you it's pansexual all the way through.
I'm sure.
100%. And you're like, oh, okay. But they don't really make a deal about it. They just mention it a couple of times and it's just like implied at that point. Well, she pops up and he's like, hey. She's like, no, I made a mistake. As soon as she steps off the platform, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck? He's like, well, are we going to do it? Like so many times. He's like, let's go. And then she's like, no, I changed my mind. He's like, sit down. Let's have sex. No. She's like, nah, I better leave. And then home dude comes in there, his buddy, Francis.
With two girls.
Oh, man, and pops that fucking thing on the ceiling where they get all fucked up with the
spice.
Yeah, the red spice. Man, imagine that, dude. I'm wondering what that would do to your brain if you were inside of that. You know, and it just came down and it would clear out eventually. Yeah. And then you'd be covered in this powder weird shit if it didn't dissipate. Right. But that's what they did. They lived for drinking, drugging, sexing. Yep. Everything. It was fucking crazy.
And hunting.
So
hunting runners.
What we notice on her, though, before she bolts out the door, right, was she had an ankh on her neck.
Yes, she did.
You don't really pay attention
on her necklace.
But it's going to come in handy.
Yeah.
So the next day.
It's like that plane in the new Poltergeist movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They're that drone.
Telegraph.
Yeah. Throwing it out there.
So the next day they end up going back to Central.
Yes.
I guess. Mother or whatnot.
The control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Master mold.
Yeah. So they get in there and home dude goes in first. Francis goes in first, right? Drops all of his shit off. It fucking scans it, takes it, and he's like, cool. All right, later. But at that same time, they showed one of the Sandmen actually kill some dude remotely. Yeah. He's like, got him. You know what I mean? It was like he was like, looks like we got a runner. He's like, do, beep, got him. And he's like, you're mad you didn't get him. You know? Right. But then of course Logan goes in there, puts down his change and everything, right? And then the computer like all of a sudden is like, holy shit, what is this? And he has to give him an education. He's like, what is this? And he's like, it's an ankh. And this is a scene that I had to. Every time I was rewatching it, I was trying to really pay attention to where the computer just basically was like, you're fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't really give him a choice, but Logan wasn't like thinking, oh, he's going to make me go do this, or mother's going to make me do this. The computer's going to do this. So it was like a weird trickery for the computer to kind of play with the way that, I don't know. It's like he saw the computer had been waiting for the right moment.
Correct.
And that was one of the right moments.
Yeah.
And when he has him in there and of course the big screen tells him what an ankh is, and he's like, look for sanctuary. Yep. It's like, sanctuary? What is sanctuary? Like, they wouldn't know that because that's where they live, in sanctuary. You know? So he's like, oh, okay. And what's crazy that I noticed about Logan is he was basically still working for the computer as a Sandman, even after, as soon as they got into the other side, he like triggered them.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he was like, all right, now I'm good. He's like, he let them all right there, So, of course,
I noticed that too. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't make a lot of great decisions, and he's very impetuous.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
plus, he doesn't really, I don't think he really even, of course, he didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
You know?
right.
And then, of course, he's like, so how am I going to pass for being, at carousel level or some shit? And he's like, put your hand down, identify, right? That's how they do it. They put the jewel on it. So put his hand down, and he fucking took off 4 lives. Like, boop, 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 boop. Shit. And so he's glowing red at this point. So that way he'll look like he is actually a runner.
Right.
So they'll believe it so he can infiltrate it and do it. So again, perfect little deal. So, of course, his buddy's already, taking a bath.
Right.
Right, going swimming and shit. And so he follows up with him because he's like, he's not supposed to tell anybody either that he's doing this. So he has to pose as a runner, get in good with wherever he got that or wherever he's seen the symbol, chase it, and then find sanctuary. So they can find the 1,158 runners that have made it.
Right.
Which that's kind of crazy too, because the computer he's like questions. The computer's like questions, and he's like, because he tells him 1,050, and he's like, yes. Before he even has a chance to ask the question, he's like, 1,158 still missing.
Yeah.
What? What do you mean? Yes. No, that's the truth. This is how it happened.
Well, and that kind of gives you the scope of the place as well, right?
Right. So that's a secret that nobody knows, no Sandman knows, nothing like that. So it's privileged information, along with him being somebody that's supposed to infiltrate.
Absolutely.
Even though he's still reluctant, he still does it. And when he's talking to his buddy, he's like, so he goes home. Of course, he dials a date. He just wants to see her again.
Right.
And because of the Ankh.
Right.
So of course, they get in their little adventure because they go out into, where was it? Where because is that where they put teenagers? You know what I mean? That's what I thought.
Right.
They're like, oh, we throw the pony boys out there or some shit like that. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, for sure.
They just let them like steal and fucking eat each other or some shit. The fuck is that, right? Because whenever they were going up into headquarters, that one dude's walking down the stairs and he's like, yeah, some dude, came at me with a fucking sharpened pole.
Yeah.
So go get your face changed. Now they know what you look like.
Right.
So it's like there's this whole other world over there too, that these underground kids and teenagers and shit like that are living in, and they're totally cool with it in an old part of the city.
Yeah, that's the weird part too, because wouldn't there be a lot more older people that escaped if it couldn't, like, all those people are like 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and under.
Right. Because the and I keep wanting to say judges, but the
Sandman.
but the Sandman, they can track those people because their jewels are still on. So I think whenever they got past that level right there and they get up to Box's level, that's where all of the runners were.
Gotcha.
They were all frozen.
Right.
So you're like, holy shit. So they just made it up there.
Because there was a lot of them.
Yeah. And he stopped getting fresh food and everything like that for a long time, and they started sending that up.
Right.
Or people started escaping that way, and he'd be like, all right.
Yep.
So it was a computer fuck up.
Right.
At the same time, these people actually got out. So more people probably could have done a lot more population. But anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, anyway, he's got to fit into that.
Time up.
Yeah.
Mark the time.
Mark the time.
Got a little girl bladder going on there.
Time the mark. I'm just gonna. All right, so he's got his mission.
Yeah.
He goes and dials a date.
Yeah.
And he gets her, and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to talk to you." She's like, "Whatever." She's very skeptical the whole time, but yet for some reason she's like, I don't know, I like him.
But she's attracted.
Yeah, pheromones. I like your jewel. Thank you very much. So
I like your jewels too.
Yeah. So he reveals to her, he's like, "Bing! Guess what? my jewel is sparkling right now, so I'm going to have to run. Yeah. She's like, whatever. This is a trap.
Sandmen don't run.
Yeah, Sandman don't run. But technically he is. Yeah. So she's like skeptical. She takes him to a meeting and they're like, fuck him.
Yeah, right.
That's a fucking Sandman. Sandman don't run.
You know?
That's some fucking bullshit, right? So he's like constantly trying to get away from his buddy too.
Right.
So this is like the second. It's like the second part of the movie kind of takes off from there.
Right.
The escape and type shit like that. Because when they go out to like the outskirts or whatnot, and the dude's like, hey, look at my sharpened pole.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it was you, bitch. Right. And so he throws the fucking thing, because I feel bad for what's her name, Jessica, because that thing had to hit her in the back, because he just like wildly throws it, and all fucking Logan's doing is like creating a fireworks show. Yeah. It's like pew 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 pew, scaring the fuck out of all of them.
Yeah, he couldn't hit a damn thing.
So they end up coming back, right? And he's like, you know what? I need to change my fucking face,
right? Because
he knew that dude did it earlier. Because the runner that they caught actually did have his face change the day that he ran. Right. So that's how he because at first he was like, nah, it doesn't look like the dude. And they did a facial match and shit like that. Then the dudes came on and they sprayed some shit on him. Yeah.
Sprayed some DNA pledge. Matched. Whatever.
Yeah. Sprayed some pledge on it. Dissolved him. They were out. Yep. Wouldn't you hate to be underneath one of those dudes? You saw him flying by. Like, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm going to stay right here for a minute, because what if he has a malfunction? I'm fucked. That's right. Imagine that. That's on their fucking news broadcast. Another man struck down today by a cleaner. And it just shows the dude half melted like, ah! And just the Logan dude running up to him was like,
looks like the dude from RoboCop.
Yeah. Oh, man. Just melting him from the inside. Yeah. Like, oh. No. Because he breathed it. but yeah, so he talks her into going to the doctor. Yes. They get to the doctor, and the doctor's like, nah, you shouldn't have brought this motherfucker here, right? So we get to see that there actually is a body clinic where you go in and you're like, you know what, I need my cheekbones raised, or I need to shave off a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Right. So they have a whole process for it, kind of where we're at right now, just like what Dr. Nick does. He actually goes in there with a fucking... He's like burning shit. Well, they have anesthesia that runs through the lasers too. Right. So it actually... You don't feel anything. Right. So, he's in the deal. Farrah Fawcett's like, you need brown hair. That's where she shows up.
Yeah. Farrah Fawcett's like the
consult.
Yeah, the concierge.
Yeah. She's the body consultation expert. Yeah. That's her job. So you walk in to get a new body. She's like,
really gonna want that brown hair.
Think you need brown hair, and maybe we'll make your knees look like a little more like an elephant. Okay.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Farrah Fawcett.
That's weird. So she's in the chamber with him too.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Yeah. I guess she's there because he goes in there and he's like, should I take my clothes off? And she's like, no, not for your face. He's like, oh, okay. So he lays on this weird bed, right? And of course, he's like, let me show you this. He's like, and he, you feel no pain after he sprays it, right? And he's like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. So let's start here. And then all of a sudden he gets a call because he's already talked shit to fucking Jessica. And he was like, you shouldn't have brought him here, Well, he's running, they don't ever believe that he's really running. Right. But then, of course, his buddy's still following him. But home doc gets a call and he's like, yeah, they're both here. If you heard that, wouldn't you be like,
time for me to go?
Yeah.
Time for me not to let this guy shoot lasers at my face?
Right. And then he turns off a couple of levers. He's like, let's see what happens. Even with my nurse in there, the body consultant.
Yeah, right.
And so she's freaking out. He's freaking out, right? Because it's gone through because he even fucks with him too. He's like, see how it cuts through your clothes and nothing underneath? He's like, no. It's like, oh shit. So finally he gets out. Then he beats up the dude, but home dude has to come.
His former partner, Francis
6 or something like that has to run up and get into a fight with
He's
you.
the Fantastic Fourth.
Right. The Fantastic Fourth. Yeah, no, well, I mean, he's frustrated, and even they get out of the body clinic, and of course, Jessica's like, follow me, because there's like a sex club, right?
Yeah.
So supposedly they walk through the deal, and it just showers you with some powder or some shit, or whatever the mist was.
Yeah.
And you're all fucked up and moving really slow, right? You're like, over there. Like, it's weird, right? So everybody's tripping. Everybody's handsy. You know what I mean? I mean, this is like shit coming from everywhere, right?
It's like some ecstasy heroin mix.
Right. It's like I didn't expect to see that many boobs in a movie like this, for real.
Right, no, for real.
And it's everywhere. You're like, holy shit, right? And then she's like, no, over here. And it's like she needed to cut through the club, but forgot that they turned the gas on, right? Like they left the blood sprinklers on. And so they get to the other side finally. They get out and they're like, bing, bing. And they're walking outside in like a weird,
kind of
huge wall.
Yeah.
And it only has that one door. That's the only one door that goes all the way down. It's just such a huge thing, you know? When you're looking at it, you're like, damn, that was fucking massive. But they still keep going. And, you know, they finally end up in that. Because, of course, Francis is right behind them. But they like fucking Wile E. Coyote'd him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like disappeared and shit. And he's like, what the fuck, right? So eventually he gets down there. But yet they go into like a, like a hatchery or a nursery for fish or something like that. Yeah. So we know that there was, you know, fish, plankton, all that shit like that. Sea greens, you know, the whole nine. And he's like, he's like, maybe we don't use this anymore. I wonder why. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's kind of weird. It was like a derelict little bunker, but that's how people were getting out. Yeah. Because that one was kind of hidden there. I guess they started using it back in the day, and it just stayed that way. Right. But you couldn't tell. And of course, Francis is still after them. Yeah. Right? So they get to
not the same Francis from Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is whenever Farrah Fawcett comes in and they're about to get killed with the glow sticks. Yeah, yeah. You know, and they're just spraying like hot steam on them, and they're like,
"Hey, the steam is hot."
And then that's
when cushy lives. That is the worst pain we've ever suffered.
Yeah, and that's that's before they start walking out in those weird tunnels, because they actually end up, and he's like, is this sanctuary? Because he thinks it is, and he still turns them in. Right. So then all the Sandmen show up, start firing them. He hits one. The only shot that he ever made was directly in that dude's chest, and like knocks him back like 5 feet. It's like, Poof. And of course Francis is like, hey, I saw what you did, because he let that one lady go when they were in that one place for a little while before they went back in the jet car or whatnot. Right. And so basically Francis is still like, hey, I'm your buddy. I can look, we'll figure it out, right? And he's like, no, I don't think so. So he shoots and kind of scares the fuck out of him. Then they get out. Yeah. Then they're in that derelict bunker. He shows up out of the fucking blue. Yeah. And is like, he shoots from across the room and opens one of the holding tanks. Yeah. Which is like fucking almost drowns them. They get out, but yet, where are they?
Is that where? That's not where they had to pull the screens off. That was to get back in.
That was to get back in. Yeah. So they end up on the elevator.
That's right.
But they don't know it's an elevator because they barely get out of the water situation. So God knows how Home Dude got there. You know what I mean? Because it was just flooding. It was flooding all the way up. Right. Michael York can't stop it, but those machines start moving like it was just easy. So they get up to the top, and I mean, they're showing how high they're going. Right. Because they kept going down and down and down and down, and then they started going back up, but then they start freezing because they're wet. Right. You know, and so they get up, and it's like a fucking winter wonderland. It's like, what the fuck, right? Right. So, yeah, they end up like take off our clothes so we can get under these furs or blankets or some shit. So they're sitting there, and along comes Box. Yep. Roscoe Lee Brown.
This was probably the biggest unexpected turn.
Really? Where did it come from? I mean, how? It was like he shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm pretty big, aren't I?" It's like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. And he says the same thing over and over again, right?
Right.
But we know he's like a caretaker in some weird way because he points to his birds. He's
Yeah.
like, when it's great outside, my birds will fly, and he's got penguins. But it's like they're ice sculptures, so I don't think they're real.
They're definitely ice sculptures.
And he's doing that shit from memory, and he never sees people.
Right.
But then all of a sudden he's like, don't worry, I know what to do. And he leaves, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll follow you. They turn a corner, and there's just nothing but rows and rows and rows of
Frozen people.
And he's like, hey, they stopped sending, the plankton and all this shit, fresh, daily stuff. And they started sending this. So, are you ready? They're like, holy shit, no. So
He's about to get frozen.
right. So he shoots him directly in the chest at one point too, and they get into a good scuffle.
Yeah.
And of course they get away. Box is gone. His birds fall down. Everything's done.
Can I say that this is like Bach's role is what Arnold Schwarzenegger's role is Mr. Freeze.
Oh,
man. That's the breadth of how long that should have lasted.
No shit. Man.
That would have been perfect.
Yes. This town will freeze. Done. Like, whoa, is he coming in the next one? And never deliver.
Nothing.
You're like, yeah, that was a perfect casting.
Ice hole.
That is such an eyesore.
Gross. Anyways, back to Logan's Run.
But basically, they're tearing down the establishment.
Yeah.
Breaking it all up. He was the last line of defense. Nobody had ever really gotten that far.
Right.
So I speculate that those were the runners. And eventually got there, right? They probably didn't all were wet and shit
Makes
like that.
sense, yeah.
They all got up there and he was like, gotcha.
Frozen.
So then they start walking, they're like, man, I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. They had never been outside.
Right.
And they never really realized that they were outside until, of course, right after that part, they're like, oh, it's warm.
Yeah.
So they start walking through,
Because they see the sun for the first time.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, shit. I think it would fuck them up
What
a
is
little bit
that?
worse. Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's warm.
But the way that they came into it
Yeah.
must have been pretty easy.
Yeah.
Because imagine living your whole life with unnatural light, and then you go out to see the sun, you're like,
Radiation.
You just, when you try to keep your eyes open, but you got to shade somehow. But so of course, home dude's still behind them.
Yep.
So don't forget him.
Yep.
So
But
they
end up skinny dipping for a while. And,
yeah. And of course, back the first time she was, they were about to do it.
Yeah.
They were going to hump. And,
Hump.
so they, and she's like, I said no. Yeah. And then they're swimming, right? And then they do a really cool underwater split too. It's like, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go this way. And she's like, I will say yes this time. So, of course, they got to be knocking boots probably.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, I don't know what we're going to do. And then they see the city.
Right.
Pretty
iconically, like you see that it's Washington, D.C.
D.C., because you got the Washington Monument. They got to walk through the Washington, whatever, that reflecting pool.
Yeah.
They got to walk through that. Then they end up at what?
The Lincoln Memorial.
And they're like, what is that? That must be what it looks like to be old. But when they were swimming, they discovered that their jewels, nothing.
Yeah, they're just clear now.
Yeah. They're not on. Nothing's happening to them. They're like, holy shit, we can actually be free. She really did before they got, after he turned them in, right? And she professes her kind of like, I don't want to go anywhere but with you.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, oh, shit. So it's like like that moment.
Right. She could have said that in like an hour before and would have avoided a lot of shit.
Whole bunch of shit. Whole bunch of shit.
See, kids, communication. That's what's important in relationships.
At the very beginning, just state your claim. Tell me what you need. And do you need me to empathize or help you with the solution? So they get all the way up to, where is it? Where are they at? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. They go to that set.
Yeah.
And they freak out because they hear something. They don't know what it is. It's a fucking cat,
Yeah,
right?
but they've never seen a cat.
Don't even know what the hell that is. They're like, wow.
Frightening.
Yeah. Like, huh, I got a chair leg. That's weird.
That I just ripped off this chair.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not my place, but I need a weapon.
Right.
And he's got a gun too, doesn't he?
Yeah, I thought so.
I think he still had his fucking, I don't know.
It
Anyway.
doesn't matter.
But so he opens the chamber door, right? And guess what? He hears a little clack. And he looks over and it's this fucking old star-bellied sneetch fucking cracking walnuts.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa. They're all both tripping out. That scene is pretty cool when they realize, oh, you can grow old.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. She's like, can I touch your face? He's like, oh my.
Well, and they ask him, they're like, those lines in your face, do they hurt?
He's like,
No.
But and the whole time he's doing like cat poems.
Yeah.
McCavity. It's like, what the fuck, man?
For sure.
It's like, and he's all alone, you could tell.
Yeah.
I mean, he talks about, he's like, where is everybody else? And he's like, well, I buried them. They're dead.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we do. Right. So God knows how long he's been living alone. But he does mention a little bit that there were people before. So maybe they moved on.
Right.
Maybe they kept moving, but he stayed in the same place with his parents the whole time.
Right.
So maybe they were runners at one point, got out, right? Had him naturally because he knew his mom and dad. And that was something that they was kind of contentious in the city. Right. You know what I mean? Because even his buddy Francis was fucking with him because he was like, "Do you know his birth mother?" He's like, "No, fuck, none of us do." So they kind of talk. They bring that back, you know,
for sure.
And she's like enamored. They're like, "Holy shit!" And he's like, "Can we see your hand?" And he's like, "Yeah, nothing."
I kind of assumed that they were just people who made it outside of all that, you know what I mean?
Or lived through it all.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
I mean, made it outside of being part of that group.
Right.
You
right.
know?
They had
because you'd always have your holdouts from anything like that.
Yeah, and you think migration, you think people moving hundreds of years, you know, shit like that, right? I mean, you're gonna end up. If it was the 23rd century, how many years is that from? Was it 200 or something? I don't know.
From 1967?
No.
Or from 1970?
Let's just, say 76.
76, so... Well, it'd be 200 and... Yeah, I mean, 200 years, I guess. 200 and some, maybe.
So do you think the rate of decay on things like canvas to the elements, wood to the elements, how long do you think that would last? That's one thing that I think a lot of things get wrong, is they don't factor in the rate of decay because
I don't know the answer. I mean, obviously, it depends on how well protected it is from, especially the radioactivity. If it was nuclear weapons, you know, things like that. Well, but like wood, like I've seen a 200-year-old chair.
Right.
I've sat in one.
Right.
You know, so.
Well, and there's, you know, like in Detroit.
Depends on how it's taken care of. Prior to that would be how long it's going to last.
How long the roof was on it.
Yeah.
Before it actually got to the elements.
Yeah.
Because if you look at some of those, the schools that closed down, these really huge schools in like Detroit and Cleveland and shit like that, where they have these giant auditoriums and these beautiful schools that are all overgrown, they look fucking worse than Congress did.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
this movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like really bad. So I'm like, would he have just like taken up room in this place? You know, I mean, where's he sleeping? What is he sleeping on? You know, they didn't really get into a lot of that, but you could tell he's been there a long time on his own.
Well, if this movie came out today, tomorrow there'd be the prequel about how he got to that point.
Yeah, how the old man got old.
The Old Man Chronicle.
Yeah. Well, she ends up promising him that that they would bury him.
Yeah.
Because they don't plan on going back.
Yeah, and there's that cool scene, like when they're walking through the cemetery before they get to him, where they're like, what are these names?
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, beloved husband, beloved father, or beloved wife. And they're like, what's that mean? You know, and like, so...
He finds out more from them, too. They ask those questions.
Right.
Because they're like, what does it mean? So your parents are out there. So what is beloved husband? What is beloved wife?
And he's like, terms of endearment, I guess.
Right, yeah. And he's like, I don't know. my mom had me. At least that's what she said. And he always forgets. He's like, I'm my, father.
Yeah.
Like he always forgets father for
Right.
some reason. I thought the dude kicked ass in that role.
Yeah.
I think that was a really cool original idea,
Yeah.
original person, just original character that had such a life before, and you're only getting a small glimpse.
Right.
How old was he though?
Yeah. Old.
Right.
as
He could have
shit.
been really fucking
He
old
was
because
fucking
of
old. I mean,
nothing else out there.
right.
What would have killed him if he lived in a controlled environment?
I know as soon as like when they were walking before they get there and they jump in that lake,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, first of all, you're just going to randomly jump in some ass lake after you've lived your whole entire life inside and you've never seen anything like that.
Right.
What?
You're just going to jump in because it's water.
Yeah.
Because you
didn't check for rocks.
you didn't
could have
have
broke
to.
something.
Yeah. They would have never thought about that shit.
You
They're like,
have
fucking
any
jump.
idea about the microbes?
They've lived inside all the time.
I know.
They
That's
could
why
change
they're
their-
going to get that shit.
They could change your appearance at any time. So,
Got
So-
the monkey pox.
yeah. So Logan gets the idea that, guess what? I'm going back.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs to know this shit.
I know.
But that's after he gets into that big ass fight.
With Francis.
Yes.
Yeah, Francis is like, ha-ha!
And he's like, I got you. And then he's like, look at your hands, dipshit. So he looks at his hand. He's like, that's a lie. Fuck that. And then he jumps off of like a 2-story balcony. And they get in the... I mean, it was a really good fight. Like, they throw him all the way around.
There's a lot of tussling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, like, he grabs the flagpole,
Yeah.
right? And he starts to attack him. But, Logan's like super slick. It's like, yoink. And hits him like 5 times. And that kills him.
Yep.
Because he hits him so hard. He's like, I don't want to do it. But I have to.
Then he can't stop.
Then he actually
That's
kills
usually
him.
how it works.
Yeah. He's like, huh. And he's holding him in his arms, and they bury him.
yeah.
And that's, of course, she's like, yeah, I promised him something, so the old man wants her to bury him because
Right.
they're going to stay. And then he's like, nah, fuck that. But I love how they try to make it seem so cool. It's like you're trying to get your kids to go do something.
Right.
It's like, they're like, oh no, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Come with us. We'll
For some
take you
reason
to.
in my head, is it like, does he say 300,000 to 400,000, something like
I
that?
don't know. I think it's I think I read something that was like 400,000.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, oh my, sure.
I never...
They've never seen a cat?
He does play that pretty well.
Oh, fucking
And
great.
That is a very character like that you've seen people play.
He checks a lot of boxes with that to
Yeah.
make it familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
To where you empathize with the character, but then you also are learning from the character because he's so almost primitive in a way.
Right.
And especially with them, which they're primitive to that world, so they have no fucking idea. It's like 2 languages.
For sure.
And he's like, yeah, you guys can fucking stay.
I just didn't really understand why they're like, hey, oldest guy we've ever met, come walk with us.
Yeah.
Back to this place that we just walked from, and we'll, then we'll free people, and you'll just be there, and we'll have to walk back.
Yeah, was it a day away, though?
Something?
Because they stopped whenever
Yeah.
he was with them, but whenever they were going, were they walking at night, too?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know, but it
Oh,
just
yeah,
seemed like
yeah.
you're having the old man walk a long way for no reason.
Yeah, he's
You
even
know.
on the road. He's like, they used to call this a road. You need bits of metal to be on it.
For sure. And then they get there, and they have to. Oh, what time to make the donuts? I don't know what time.
Time to make the donuts.
Yeah.
They mentioned the date and the year for this, so I guess it's been from whenever they went to carousel to then was another carousel. So it was like 19 cycles. Didn't seem
that
like it
19
was
days.
I don't know. That's another thing that I was kind of lost on.
And it's hard to say. Like,
Right.
yeah.
But they Capricorn something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they walk in, and that's the best line. He's like, "You don't have to die."
He's on the balcony out, this has been a big set during the movie. outside as they're like out in the little courtyard area where they're getting ready to walk into Carousel.
Right. They're above everybody at this point
And
because they came in
that's
from
when
outside.
he screams, very much sounding just like Brock just did. And, everybody's just like, whatever, fool.
And then, of course, because they're wearing, their Bilbo Baggins, get-ups.
Wearing their finest gear to go to the carousel.
Burlap and shit.
The event of the 19-day cycle.
So she decides, she's like, oh, they're not listening to you. Maybe they listen to me.
Yeah.
So she screams at them, and then they finally get taken, right?
Yeah.
Of course, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the old man's sitting by a waterfall that he's never seen before that's by the ocean, and he's like, I don't fucking know what the hell's going on. He's like, stay here as long as you can, because I love how they trick him every time.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no, we'll bring you to the people. And he's like, all right, shit. And they get there, and they're like, no.
We'll bring the people to you.
You got to wait here. Yeah. It's like, okay. Oh, my. But then, of course, he gets taken to the computer to be interrogated.
Yes.
Hollow interrogated with like 6 screens or 4 screens, right? Different levels of his head. And he's like, there is no sanctuary. And the computer's like, no, it's bugging, right?
Yeah, it's like, this does not compute.
It's like error 404. It's like error 600 it gave it too much to compute or some shit. Just like in fucking the Forbin project.
Yeah, absolutely. Error 666.
Yes. So it fucks with him, right? And then all of a sudden the computer just starts to fucking explode.
Yep.
So they're like, yeah,
he broke its logic somehow.
They did it. I don't know how. It's so simple as an Ankh, which they lost one of them.
Yeah.
They drop hers like bloink right in front of the dude that was chasing them to the secret door.
Didn't think that he might use that.
Nah,
that's not important to
he
grab.
He didn't see it. He was only a foot down. It's weird. If that. Yeah, they're stuck on a grate.
Right.
But so they liberate the people.
Yeah.
They finally do it.
But they have to swim. Just when they get there, they have to swim, and they have to remove these grates, and they're underwater for a while, and boy, you could tell when they come up, but then they walk out.
Yeah. Totally cool.
What the fuck?
Yeah. How did you get out? You got in. You had to swim.
Because everything started exploding, I guess, and it was like all the same.
And he
was busy.
And the computer gave him clearance to go through anything, too. Yeah. But that was already long gone. That got him out.
Right.
To get him back in because his hand wasn't fucking working yet.
Yeah.
So they get out, and guess what? Old man's like, oh my.
Oh my.
And that woman walks up and touches his face. He's like, oh. So yeah, they all just come outside. They're like, huh, this is weird.
Yeah. This guy's like 70 and everybody is under 30.
Yeah. But think how weird it would be to go back in.
Oh.
Everything's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, what if you were in the
you'd go loot some stuff.
What if you were at the Bottoms Up Club? Right? And the fucking power goes out.
Right.
No more computer, no more drugs. You just wake up and you're like, where the fuck am I? And it's just nothing but like drinks and cigarettes.
Yeah, you're going to die.
It's like, this is weird. Nobody eats anything anymore. Nobody knows how to farm.
Anything before.
It's like they didn't have a fucking, like a yearbook from back in the day to figure out,
like
agriculture.
An almanac?
Yeah, right. The computer just like completely weeded them out. But guess what? Logan made his run.
That's right.
And he came back a better man.
That's right.
And he came back to free the people.
Free the people. And as with every dystopian movie, the moral of the story is go fuck outside.
Go outside. Enjoy life.
Every dystopian movie, they break out of wherever they're at. And they're outside into something different. There's not one movie that's not like that.
Just like The Island.
Yeah.
The Island was a true ripoff of Logan's Run. Great movie.
Sure.
Awesome fucking movie. But yes, same idea.
Yeah.
It's just such a great idea, like the gate, great idea, but execution,
moderate idea.
Yeah.
Really bad execution.
Like horrible execution, like the worst. But no. After you've gone through the journey,
Yeah.
what do you think of Logan's Run?
I actually enjoyed Logan's Run quite a bit. Like I said, at the beginning, the only thing that I would have changed myself is that when they got out and they were in the Capitol building, that would have been an ape.
Oh, that would have been the shit.
And then it would have been like, fucking Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
We're the people underneath the fucking mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From Planet of the Apes?
Yeah. And it's way further in the future for
Yeah.
the apes, so they're out there.
Yeah.
They're taking over.
You could just tied it all together. But no, I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, this is like a movie where I don't think a lot of people, it's like not for movie nerds like us. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But, or sci-fi aficionados.
Right.
That. But I think for the general populace, Logan's Run is not something that's like in the zeitgeist now for people younger than us specifically.
Right. Right.
So I think this is a movie that if you were going to redo a movie, this is one that deserves it. Not that this movie wasn't made great.
Right.
But I think that this would be a movie that
could benefit from...
I think it's too late now. And here's the one reason why is because there's so many of those dystopian movies that came out with all those girls.
Right.
That were like, and then the Maze Runners and
the teen paranormal
Divergent
romance novels.
Yeah. You know what I mean though?
Yeah.
Like there were so many of those movies. Like I don't think Logan's Run like would be received as well now as it was then.
Yeah.
It was more of an original idea based off that, book, obviously.
Kind of whenever it kind of almost parallel to the way that Total Recall was.
Yeah.
When it came out, great idea, awesome. The remake sucked ass. There was a lot of really cool parts to it, but it was like, why?
I'd never watched the remake.
Because
you know why?
It was a remake.
That was that attitude too.
Yeah.
I was like, no. And I know you're a fan, so if like
Total Recall 1,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
yes.
Like so, if you didn't like the remake, but no. But as far as Logan Run goes, I would give this easily a 7.5 out of 10. Pretty easy.
Oh yeah.
Like I enjoyed it that much.
Such an unusual idea, such a great execution, such perfect casting for it. It's not something that is very accessible to most of everybody. It's everywhere.
Right.
When I say accessible, it's like, well, no, I'm bullshitting. That's stupid. Because it is very accessible to get into this, get into science fiction.
Sure.
Movies with something like this, because it is kind of like it's like a, it's in the right time period.
Right.
It's in the right time period to see technology was catching up. Pre-Star Wars, which even Star Wars at the time was pretty much about the same.
Yeah.
Just shot differently, and expanded outside. But this movie belongs.
Yeah.
This movie belongs in like a list of groundbreaking movies as far as ideas go. Like THX 1138 was another one. So then you have this, and then
Hey, how'd that end up? Oh yeah, they went outside.
yeah, they went outside, saw the sun. Maybe it was the same place.
Could have been.
Could have been. They were not on
That
the
was
pleasure
the old
side.
man.
Yeah.
The old man was Voight.
Oh no shit. Yeah, Robert Duvall. That
Or
was
Duvall,
him.
yeah. Sorry.
No, that was his dad.
yeah.
But no, I love this movie. There's so many points in my life that I can remember this movie being a part of it, which was always really cool. I don't know. It's one of those movies that's always been there. It always will.
Yeah, like I said, I think I had probably watched it a few times, like not just all the way through, and that's happened a lot in my life. Other things are going on.
Yeah. Well, like Box is saying, what is it? Fish and plankton and sea greens and protein from the sea. He's like, he's a robot, but he can't talk, right?
Right.
It's all here, ready, fresh as harvest day. Fish and sea greens, plankton and protein from the sea. There's so many fucking cool shit.
Yeah, for
Parts
sure.
about this fucking movie. And of course, Basil exposition.
Would I call him Basil Expletive?
Like it. But that was Logan's Run. Logan's Run is a fucking bitchin' movie.
Yeah, man. Cool movie.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Do we
Another one of our 70s sci-fis. We've done a few of those.
It's right in the in the gut.
For sure. Well, I think that, again, the fits are what we do, because there's a lot of those that I don't think necessarily get passed on to the next people. You know what I mean? If there's not enough people talking about those movies.
And Logan's Run
do it
is
for you.
Yeah, Logan's Run is huge.
Yeah, no,
you know?
100%.
Yeah, but it's one of those kind of movies where you're like, it's appreciated, but it needs to still be appreciated. Constantly, because it's one of those movies like 2001 or fucking anything like that. So,
well, according to about 4 days ago, they're still making a Logan's Run remake. And I don't care. Like I said earlier, I think this would deserve one. I don't necessarily mean that means we have to do one, because they could just watch this fucking movie.
Yeah. The only way I'd watch a remake is if Jean-Claude Van Damme was Box.
Oh.
No, Steven Seagal is Box.
No.
And then
nobody should pay him money.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is Francis. Yep. You get one of the Hemsworths to play fucking home dude, just like throw a shitload of money at it. Bring in somebody old.
I think it was originally what I had read was Ryan Gosling, of course, but he's not in that. He's not attached anymore. And then I had also read something about they making it a female lead, which I don't think it matters either way.
It's the same thing.
It's as long as it's the same movie. That's all that matters.
It's the same thing. Get into a cool world, explore it a little bit. But so much has been fucking influenced by it, which is awesome.
For sure.
Just the cleanness of that world too, was just crazy. Everything was just so basic, clean, and it was like everything had a purpose in that movie.
Yep.
Until you get outside, which is such a huge fucking deal. Like I said, the 3 acts in this movie were crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beginning act to where they're there. Act 2 is whenever he becomes a runner. Act 3 is whenever he's like, all right, let's go dive in this water. I don't even know what's in there. Don't want anything.
Just jump. It's okay.
I don't want anything swimming up my pinto. But anyway, that was fucking Logan's Run. Logan's Run.
Logan's Run.
Logan's Run. So, oh my.
Oh my. So Logan's Run was a good movie. Like I said, this is the first time I actually sat down and watched it all the way through was for this show. I watched a couple times. So, good stuff.
Well, you don't have to die.
Peace.
I'm going to sample that on something.
Nice.
It's fucking cool.
It's a great message, too.
Yeah. You don't have to die.